It's usually Ebro in the morning, but Ebro's not here right now, so I took the opportunity to steal Ross for a Flashing Lights exclusive. Woo. Laura Stotts is here. Ross is in the building. How are you, Ross?
You already know. What's up, sexy?
Oh, nice to see you.
You already know. Good to see you as usual.
You look good, man.
You look wonderful, too.
So, Hood Billionaires in stores.
Hood Billionaire in stores right now. My second LP of the year. You know what I'm saying? I'm excited. I'm just happy. You know, we pulled this off. This big.
Yo, it just 8 months.
Yeah, it's big. It's big, man. We flooding the block, double MG.
Why did you decide to just do it like in 8 months? Why didn't you wait like a year or give yourself some time?
Because I feel that's what everybody else do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everybody else ain't the boss.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's fun. You know, we got to, you know, get to connect with the fans and do it in a different way. You know, my first album, Mastermind, this year was a, you know, a much more soulful album, and this right here is a much more, you know what I mean? So y'all know what it is.
So can we talk about the movie we made here at Hot 97 when Moving Bass came out? You realize that we partnered up with our sister station out in LA. We shut everything down.
Huge.
That record was so crazy, but
huge.
Why you had Hov on the track? Why wasn't there a Jay-Z verse on the record?
You know, Jay did a verse for it. I was just holding on to it.
Okay.
Believe that. And I just released a version with my 3 verses and him on the chorus.
Nice.
Believe that.
And you know, I saw K. Michelle post a bunch of pictures on her social media. But
shout out to sexy K. Michelle as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, how is shooting the video with her? She's so crazy. I love her.
Nah, she's super, you know what I mean? She a real boss. That was my first time really just, you know, other than, you know, running in tour, really just getting to spend some time with her on the set and seeing how she moved, man. And she, you know, she a real boss. She really impressed me.
What was your relationship with K. Michelle? Like, why did you choose her to feature?
You know, I just, you know, I watched her grind, you know what I mean? I watched her come up, you know what I mean? And, you know, I support that. I always look for that, you know what I mean? I watched her, you know, take her small steps, and she really going to that next level, and she releasing her new album. And, you know, I just feel how she connected with the streets right now, and I just thought it'd be dope.
Yeah. So you look super good. I know everybody asks you about your weight loss and your training, and you're really inspiring so many people, because I know everybody, you know, internal talk, people are like, yo, have you seen Ross lately? Like, everybody's talking about your weight loss. So what was it that you were like, you know what, I need to switch my whole style up, my whole lifestyle? You know,
it was less than 2 years ago, but, you know, I had 2 seizures, you know what I'm saying? And it just was a testament, you know, when I got there, the doctor was like, lucky for you, it wasn't, you know, the worst situation, but it just came from me being exhausted, me not sleeping, you know, maybe a little too much drinking here and there. So I just said I had to really focus on, you know, what I was doing and tighten up just a little bit. I'm still 10-piece shorty. It's still all about them lemon peppers, you know what I mean, and them Louisiana rubs, but you know, just
but we do it in moderation now.
Oh yeah. And not just that. I just chilled on a lot of the other stuff. You know what I mean?
You know what's crazy is that when August Alsina was here, he said the exact same thing. You know, he was like, "Yo, exhaustion and lack of sleep is so real."
And that's what it is. You know what I mean? You know, I was always a healthy dude. You know what I mean? I was always into sports, and you know, I never had an issue. And you know, it was one of them situations where like, yo. And, you know, we discussed my sleeping pattern, and they was like, you crazy. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I'm trying to get it, baby.
And you inspired the rest of your camp. Khaled's on it, too.
Yeah. Shout out to Khaled. You know what I mean? He was getting healthy anyway, but now I got him on Team Ross Fit.
Right.
And, you know, I just, Team Ross Fit, you know what I mean? Now it's just too many people that's at the house now, man. It's like, yo, we got to go get our own CrossFit box. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. You're like, it can't just be me. It has to be all of us moving together.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think working out the best that way, when you in the backyard, you got the music turned up loud, you got, you know, 15 of your homeboys back there, and you getting to laugh at them, you know, struggle when, you know, you struggling and going hard, and it give it a whole nother energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, I have to ask you this, because we saw pictures of your, you just had an album release party in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And you're with a young lady, Ming Lee.
Yeah.
Which is rumored to be your girl. Is this true?
That's my baby.
Is she really? Is she really your girlfriend?
No, that's my baby.
What does that mean?
That's my baby.
I hate when guys act like that. You don't want to put you don't want to put a title on it?
Nah, you know, she a hood billionaire. You know what I mean? She a boss. You know what I mean? I got a lot of love for her. You know what I mean?
Tell me about her, because nobody really. Well, I've asked her. I'm like, who is it? And she's super cute.
And yeah. You know, she's an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? She's a self-made millionaire as well. You know what I mean? And she got just a real good spirit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she do her thing. And you know, I was fortunate enough when I met her. I just told her, keep doing what you're doing. I'm always here, whatever. You know, and I stayed in touch with her.
How'd you guys meet?
You know, was one of them things I ran across. No. You know, I actually had to think about it. But what it was she was promoting one of her seminars, and it actually was sold out, and it was just coming across everything we was doing, and I'm like, yo.
Who is this person?
Yeah,
who's this amazing human being?
Yeah. And I was like, I need to sit in on one of these seminars.
So you went to the seminar?
I didn't make that one, but you know, I most definitely checked in though.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Let's any Meek updates that you could share with us?
You know, I spoke to him. It may be in 5 days from now. You know, the big homie. You know, he was sentenced to 6 months off the rip. You know, we done got our hopes up a couple times. So I said, you know, I wasn't gonna feed into that again. And you know, when he come home, and you know, at worst, it won't be more than a month at this point. You know what I mean? So we just ready for the big homie to get to the crib. Hopefully, he can spend the holidays with his son. You know what I mean? And kick 2015 off. You know what I mean?
How do you spend the holidays, Ross?
You know, I got 2 little ones, you know what I mean, my daughter, my son, so I just make sure whatever they want to do, I just build it around whatever they talking about, you know what I'm saying? They think they little bosses, you know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying?
As they should be, come on.
Yeah, so I just play the game with them.
You were watching Wale's videos with Seinfeld earlier today. Amazing. What'd you think of those?
Man, you know, just his energy with Seinfeld and they conversation.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? It's
very entertaining.
Yeah, it's most definitely next level, you know what I mean? Jedi mind level vibe. And I think, you know, just for the culture, this is huge.
Yes.
You know, that cover, they released a photo of them sitting there and, you know, Seinfeld sitting there, he got his sneakers on. And I think it really, you know, that says a lot.
Yeah.
That's, you know, another major cultural icon, major figure, you know, embracing what we do. And, you know, coming and, you know, sitting down on our level, embracing our culture, our fashion, our music. That's huge. You know what I mean? I salute Wale, the young genius, for that.
Today was a really emotional day.
Very.
You know, the grand jury's decision not to indict Darren Wilson for the shooting of Mike Brown was heavy.
Right.
Where were you when you heard the news?
I was in my hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did it make you feel?
It you know, it dampened my spirit. You know. But before I think of me, I gotta send my condolences to the Brown family.
Of course.
You know, for their major loss. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, me just sitting there reflecting. It's like, you know, it's been open season on young black males for a long time, and you know how long, you know, can this go on? You know, they think this could go on before, you know, we have some real problems.
Yeah.
Believe that.
Yeah, it was really tough. All of us had it. I mean, even me, the first thing that popped into my head, like I shed a tear. I couldn't just stop thinking about the family and the pain that everybody's going through. You know what I mean? Most
definitely, you know, and you know, it's just, you know, unarmed young male, you know, he was shot 6 times. You know what I mean? And if that's justified, you know, I feel for my life.
Yeah.
Believe
me
that.
too. My future sons, my brothers, you know what I mean? Everybody. But but back to the album, Hood Billionaire. Let me see, who else we got on there? It's K Michelle's on there, we got Hove on there. Who else?
You got Yo Gotti on the album as well. Shout out to Project Pat on the album as well. The big homie Snoop Dogg on the album. I gotta shout out my homie Slab on the album. You know, I just wanted to collaborate, you know, with different vibes and make sure this project felt different. I wanted it to be different. I think that's what makes a catalog a catalog.
How's Starly doing?
He real good. Shout out to the homie Stally. You know, he on the road. He doing he got a few dates.
Yeah.
You know, he's still pushing his Ohio album. He released a few weeks ago. Make sure y'all go get that Ohio album.
Absolutely.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, we support him heavy over here. Well, thank you, Ross. Thank you for stopping by.
Keep doing your thing, shorty. You shining bright. You know?
Happy Thanksgiving to you, man.
Believe that.